9 months ago, I was lying in a hospital bed, wondering if I made the right decision. But today, I am going to tell you everything, the good, the uncomfortable, and what I wish someone had told me before I had a hysterectomy. If you're new here, I'm Ebony, and on my channel, I talk about faith, marriage prep, and real life as a wife and mom. And today's video fits into the real life category because I'm going to give you a 9-month update post op my hysterectomy. And before I get into my 9-month update, if you're new here or you want the full backstory, I already did a video on why I decided to have the surgery in the first place and what my recovery was really like, as well as another video giving you tips and must have preparation items that you will need for the surgery. And I'll link both of those videos in the description box in the comment section below. I do recommend that you watch those videos as well because they will give you so much more context for everything that I'm going to be sharing in this video. So let's get into it. So first things first, most people want to know how you're going to feel post-op a hysterectomy once you're 9 months out from the procedure. And I will say overall, I feel great. This is one of the best things that I could have done for my life and for my body. As far as my energy goes, I will say that I've been having a hard time regaining the energy that I had pre my hysterectomy. I'm not exactly sure where that's coming from. My guess is that it may be due to the weight gain that I did have after the hysterectomy. I know I gained quite a bit of weight those first couple of weeks that I was recovering because it was a lot of like not being able to do much, as you may know. If you're preparing to have this surgery, your doctor will probably have told you that it requires a lot of rest. And I also mentioned it in my first video. You do have to get up and walk around and do some moving, but it is a lot of resting. And although I'm not a huge eater and I don't have a really big appetite, I was snacking here and there. I would get bored and I would eat snacks. People were bringing me things. And then even once I got like maybe I'd say 6 to 8 weeks out when I was feeling a lot better, I still couldn't move like I really wanted to. And so I felt like a good bit of that inactivity helped brought on some of the weight as well. I believe I probably gained probably about maybe anywhere between 10 to 15 pounds since I've had this surgery. Now, like I said, I haven't seen my doctor that did the surgery since my post-op visits because I am 9 months out from my surgery right now. So I'm not completely sure if that is something that's typical of having this surgery, but that has been my experience. So I am currently starting a new workout routine so that I can get the weight back off. My diet has changed. I'm eating a lot cleaner so that it will also help me get the weight off. So, prayerfully, that will help me get my energy level back to an energy level that I love. As far as my body changes, my body overall didn't change so much on the outside other than the weight gain, but I did have some changes on the inside. So, I had a partial hysterectomy, so I had my uterus, my fallopian tubes, and my cervix removed. So I do still have my ovaries. And so I had PCOS prior to getting the hysterectomy done. And because I still have my ovaries, I still have PCOS. So occasionally I do feel like sharp pains in the areas where my ovaries are on like the side of my hips, which was something I also had prior to having the surgery. So I do experience that from time to time. Nothing too bad. When you have PCOS, you have cysts on your ovaries, and sometimes those cysts can burst, and you do feel that. Because I also have my ovaries, I do still produce an egg. And usually I would feel when it's ovulation time for me. So I do occasionally get that sensation as well. But for the most part, the pain is very minimal. I definitely don't feel any pain whatsoever from endometriosis that I had, as well as the fibroids that I had. The pain is completely gone. That is even if that was the only thing that I gained from having this surgery, that would have been everything for me because I had extremely painful menstrual cycles. And to not have a menstrual cycle or have that pain associated with it was everything to me. Now, I will say, as far as hormones go, when my menstrual cycle was getting ready to come on, a week or 2 before it came on, I would notice changes in my mood, in my feelings, how I felt, my attitude. I do get that somewhat still. I have what I call a pseudo cycle, meaning it's like a false cycle. I still get some of those symptoms, like a cycle is about to come, like my breasts will become tender. I will feel a change in my mood, but that's usually about it. And right after I had my hysterectomy, those symptoms would come around the same time that I had my menstrual cycle. But now being 9 months out, I get them randomly. So I'm not sure if my hormones are just kind of like all over the place and they've changed because my menstrual cycle used to come in the middle of the month, and so that's when I would feel those symptoms. Now it's possible for me to feel those symptoms either at the beginning of the month, the middle of the month, or the end of the month. So I'm not sure where that's coming from either, but I do still have those symptoms. Exercise, like I said, I am starting a new exercise routine. I have done a little bit of exercising, far as like cardio, no heavy lifting or anything like that. I have done like some aerobic exercise. I've done a few like core and strength training exercises. I don't feel any different than I really did before. It is a lot harder because, like I said, I've gained some weight. So that's one of the reasons that I am starting a new routine to work out, to lose the weight, of course, but also to build up my strength. Now, in the area of intimacy, which I know a lot of women like to know what happens after a hysterectomy, I will say, how do I put this? It's different. Without going into too much detail, one thing I do like about it is that intercourse was very painful for me prior to having the hysterectomy, and now it's not. It does feel different, not necessarily in a bad way. It just feels different than what it did before, if that makes sense. I do also deal with some dryness, which is something that I have never ever in my life ever dealt with. So that is something new. But of course, there are things that help with that. So that really hasn't been a problem for my husband and I. He does say that he notices a difference, which I'm sure he does because it is very different when you are in pain and you're not sure if pain is going to come from something. So usually you're very tense, and I'm not that way anymore. So I'm sure that feels a lot different to him. But I mean, for the most part, I have no complaints. I know women also want to know, how do you feel after having a hysterectomy pertaining to like your identity and regarding your womanhood? I feel great. I feel the same. Nothing really changed. I do have 2 children, so I don't deal with anything regarding not being able to have children. And like I stated in my previous videos that I did, my heart does go out to the women that do have to have this procedure and weren't able to carry and deliver a child from their body. So I know that would be different for those women, but I still feel the same. I have peace about what I did, and I believe it was the best decision for me and my body. I gathered some questions from comments in my previous videos, from some DMs that I received, as well as just some general questions that some friends and family members have asked me about pertaining to having my hysterectomy. So I also want to address those questions here. And one of the questions that I got repeatedly was, did I regret having the hysterectomy? And like I just stated previously, absolutely not. I would do it again if I had to. Yes, it was a very invasive procedure. Yes, the healing process took a little toll on me, but where I'm at now, my quality of life that I have right now is so much better. I'm not spending money on pads or tampons. I'm not bleeding like crazy. I don't have to worry about planning trips or vacations around my menstrual cycle. And like I stated, most of all, I'm no longer in pain routinely because even though a lot of my pain came from my menstrual cycle, I still would experience random pain outside of my menstrual cycle. And I no longer have that. The only pain that I get in my lower abdomen area comes from maybe like stomach pain, like if I ate too much or if I ate something that wasn't good for me. But other than that, I don't deal with any pain down there whatsoever other than what I described earlier pertaining to my ovaries. So no, I do not regret it one bit. Another question that I get was, did I go into early menopause? I did not because I do still have my ovaries, but I was perimenopausal before the hysterectomy and I am still perimenopausal after the hysterectomy. I do deal with hot flashes. I do deal with insomnia. There are quite a few things that are listed as perimenopausal symptoms, and I do deal with quite a bit of those, but none of it is anything that's too much for me. So that's that. Also get the question, did I lose weight? And I just spoke on that regarding my weight gain. So no, I did not lose weight, but I do know some people who had the procedure who did lose weight. Now, the weight loss doesn't necessarily, I believe, come from the procedure because unless you had an enlarged uterus, I do know that there are some cases where people have enlarged uteruses, which are larger than they typically are. I did not have that when I don't even think my uterus may have been a whole pound. So I definitely did not lose weight from having the hysterectomy itself. If you are considering this surgery or you are scheduled to have this surgery you are on the fence about the surgery, please do not make any decisions until you have peace about what you are going to do. Once your uterus is removed, it cannot be put back. So, this is a life changing decision and should be thought through carefully. The surgery is also a major surgery, and you should be well informed on everything concerning your body and the person that will be going into it. Like I stated before, this was the best decision I ever made, and I would make it all over again if I had to. But this is my story, and this was my path. Your story and your path could be the same or it could be different, but only you and God know what's best for you. Our physical makeup is a big part of who we are, but it's not everything that makes us who we are. And as women, you have to know that we are more than a uterus. So please do what's best for you and what you have peace with. If you have any questions about this procedure, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. And if you're watching this and you've already had a hysterectomy, please share your experience below in the comments as well in hopes of helping others. And like I said previously, on this channel, I talk about faith, marriage prep, and real life as a wife and mom. So if that's something that interests you and you'd like to know more, please go ahead and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay blessed.